Hello, everyone. How awesome is it that we are at the Sydney Opera House? Huh? Thank you to every one of you for making the trip, as Jonathan said right at the beginning, from all parts of the world and Sydney. We're really excited to have you here. So I get to have the difficult shift of being in front of you before lunch. I'm sure you're hungry, but you're also excited. So I want to try and take you through some of the thinking that we've had in trying to formulate listening from customers and being able to work through what is it that we need to have as we think about a product roadmap. And for us at Nuix, a product roadmap is a very important part of incorporating everything that you tell us, things that we are learning in the field, as you're putting our products through its spaces. And as Stephen was talking about, looking at a lot of the interesting scenarios, this is actually about taking us to that next level. But I want to take you back to the real beginning as we started the day. And it was actually following on from Jonathan when Kelly talked about thinking about business process transformation. And the positioning for us right from the beginning has been about Nuix Neo is very much about a business outcome. It's amazing technology. It's something that we strongly believe in. But at the core of it, it is about solving your business problems. So when we think about looking at elements to do with sensitive data, being able to identify the large swathes of information that is there, but being able to capture the relevant items and identify where they sit. This is where we see the data privacy solution coming into its own. Because it is actually about looking at those nuggets of information that are buried deep in, and sometimes multiple layers deep, to be able to find out what is actually going on. When we think about our Nuix DNA, right from the very beginning, thinking about forensics and being able to look at investigations and being able to respond to those regulators and their needs when they are looking through difficult changing regulations or trying to hold organizations accountable, then it's being able to see how we've been able to package up what we've been doing for the last 25 years, as you've heard right from the beginning, to be able to incorporate that as part of our investigation solution. And then, as you've been hearing, a great part is about our legal proposition. The opportunity to take early case assessment, or it's sometimes called early data assessment, and then be able to incorporate how we go through the legal review and really supercharge the ability to find that e-discovery relevant documents through the journey. So when we think about this, I want to spend a little bit of time just before lunch, so just hold your breath, whilst we talk about what our roadmap focus is. So there are, at a high level, 4 key areas that we are very much interested in bringing to you as we go through this year. First and foremost, you've heard about AI a lot, and I'll delve a little bit into our proposition around the AI. The next, as I started with, solutions. Solutions are a key part of how we are thinking about making the platform along with the fast start kits available to you so that you can get started on your journey. And then there's a lot of thinking that has gone in terms of our opportunity to really improve on the user experience and being very conscious about the user interface as you go through and interact with the Nuix Neo platform as a whole, going from all the way from ingestion through collection, through to processing, through to enrichment, and then being able to act on it. So let's do a little bit of a deep dive. You've heard Jonathan right at the beginning talk about our investment and focus in the deep learning framework. This is very important to us because this gives us the ability to think about how we incorporate all of the different innovation, investment, and ideas that are really powered around this deep set of case data and metadata that many others struggle to find at volumes. And a little bit later, I'll talk to you a little bit about the volumes and the performance that has been so integral to our success over the years. But it's not just about incorporating it at will. It has been a conscious decision. It was interesting earlier when Victor was talking about an AI governance framework. We hadn't actually spoken, but it was very interesting to hear that right from the very beginning, when we at Nuix wanted to incorporate, whether it was the cognitive, very predictive set of our AI, or thinking through how we integrate the specific models that are relevant in solving a problem, or in fact, as you saw Stephen just demonstrate, the ability to open up the ecosystem, take the platform view, and incorporate all the richness that is happening at speed outside, we have always kept in mind that whatever we introduce has to align with our responsible AI policy. And everything that we incorporate goes through specific elements of it. I mean, Stephen didn't touch on his fashion sense, but he did talk about where he was wearing a purple shirt, right? And that was purposeful because there was no time for that because he always takes up the time I have, but that's all right. But when you saw the demonstration, you would have seen that when we represent elements to do with the information that is coming back from AI, we very distinctly represent it in lilac because we want to make sure that there is clear distinction, keeping to our forensically defensible roots, that when you're looking at anything, there is clarity. There is clarity of what is possible and what is the original evidence versus that which has been augmented by some form of AI. Either our cognitive AI, which is very clear and predictable and repeatable, or it is through the use of our integrated AI models that have been incorporated, or indeed where you've chosen to go out and explore other possibilities. So when we think about the focus, if I deep dive into what we are very much concentrating on and focusing on for this year, there are some key takeaways. Obviously, the deep learning framework. You've heard from last year about a continued investment in semantic capabilities, allowing for multimodal, multi-language searches. And in fact, when we think about what you're seeing and starting to invest and go on in terms of our BYO, bring your own AI models, that will continue to influence the way we look at incorporating those elements into the interactive AI chat. So if we think about the way we are actually bringing this all to bear from a platform perspective, if I deep dive into a little bit of some of the examples that Stephen shared, if you think about the chat, a supremely flexible yet powerful way of interacting with your evidence set. And that just opens up the possibility of not just knowing exactly what to look for in terms of search term families, creating lists, but you can actually have a natural language conversation. And that significantly improves the ability how you interact. Or if we indeed think about our cognitive AI, where right from the very beginning, we've introduced the opportunity for you to not just have specific elements, but also be able to adjust based on response rates, what makes sense. Or in fact, if you look at in our Nuix Neo Discover legal review capability, the ability to model out. You can start with a set of prompts, but then model out based on the responses what you're getting, how relevant they are, what are the related responsive items, and where or which model you really want to focus in on. So that gives us the ability to think about how we are not just incorporating these amazing technological beats, but how that comes together as part of your business process flow. Next, let me touch a little bit on our solutions. Solutions has been a mainstay from the day we actually started talking about Nuix Neo, because we wanted to make sure that you had that opportunity to have an end-to-end turnkey solution alongside the platform. It gives you the ability to have pre-loaded workflows, have the opportunity to have specific models that are pre-built, and really incorporate much of your business process transformation into it. And talking about business process transformation, which is excellent to hear, we are very much focused on our horizontal workflows. It's a term that we use to say, you've got your business processes, and absolutely you must think about transforming them to get the best outcome. But then once you've identified, how do you, as Jonathan used to say previously, compress time? How do you make it effective? How do you automate it? How do you find the most effective way to achieve the outcome? And with the focus on our regulators, with the focus on thinking about how we are going to make the opportunity for you to use your AI, any models that you want, but curating your data so that it is more effective and the outputs are much more predictive. And then thinking through, as we go through the year, in terms of incorporating, again, from an investigative community perspective, or in corporates, and we had a really interesting discussion yesterday about whether it be a know your customer or whether it be about looking at anti-money laundering, the opportunity to have open source intelligence information incorporated into the platform makes a lot of difference. So if you think about it, what are some of the exciting things you can look forward to? A common landing page, a place where you start your journey, the opportunity to see where you're going to go next in terms of starting with automation or being able to see where you want to view your entire set of case information, and then being able to delve into your automation orchestration as a whole. This allows you the opportunity to look at what is running, what has been scheduled, and most importantly, from a user interface perspective, be very clear about where you want to focus. And that then leads us to the opportunity of, again, thinking about the different ways we are highlighting elements of our cognitive AI, the model designer, the opportunity to actually set up those catalogs and categories that are effective in designing where the automated default document sets show up. But we are also conscious that information is overwhelming. So we have been thinking through and working through with some of our customers to think about how to represent this better through our dashboards. These are coming very soon, and they will be focusing on, in addition to what you've got today, the opportunity to look at visually, clearly distinguishing elements that show where to highlight, but also, more importantly, think about how you can drill down from a summary level scorecard down to the next level of detail in terms of specific case scenarios that you can then further delve into and get all the way through an individual case. So if I collect all of that together, what does that mean? So for this year, at a high level, there's lots of details, but I just wanted to distill some of it for you. There are 4 key focus areas, looking at our investment in AI, thinking about what we're going to do in our solutions, thinking about what different ways we are bringing in the visualization and dashboard capabilities. And most importantly, and I just want to touch a couple of seconds on this, deployment optionality. You've heard us talk about choice right from the very beginning, whether it's been choice of your AI journey or having the optionality of where you review. But at the same time, we've been very conscious about choice you have as a customer as to where you deploy. We've got a SaaS platform. You can definitely leverage that. There is more coming towards the next calendar year. But also, if you've got specific security or data protection or data privacy needs, you can absolutely deploy it on-premise or in your private cloud. Again, optionality that not everyone offers. But not just about the innovation, about the functionality that's coming. I want to touch on something that is also very near and dear to our hearts in terms of doing this at speed and doing this efficiently. So over the years, you've certainly heard about Nuix excelling in large volumes of data processing. Recent benchmarks, we've seen not only have we gone past about 1 to 1.5 terabytes an hour, but we are also, when you think about it, in a day of 24 hours processing, you can get in excess of 30 terabytes processed of standard MIME types. Now, why this is important is when you are suddenly called in and you have to go through large swathes of data, sometimes time isn't on your side. So to have something at your fingertips that has the opportunity to go through this volume and with this efficiency is tremendous. But at the same time, we're very conscious. It's not just about throwing more compute because it's available, because there is an expense to it. Over the years, we've been very conscious and thoughtful in terms of the core development of our platform. So it's not just been about the efficiency that we can get with additional compute or memory or infrastructure advancements, but at the same time, compared to some of the tests over the last 2 or 3 years, this is at a greater level of efficiency in terms of achieving greater throughput, but with much more frugal means. So what that means is when we think about our customers going through many different challenges, and I want to quote some of them in terms of going from months to weeks, from days to hours, or going from hundreds of steps to a few. One of our large global pharmaceutical customers actually talked about the way they have been able to revolutionize their investigations process when it comes to being able to look at flagging matters of intellectual property, intellectual data protection in relatively real time, looking at trade secrets and confidential information. Something that they would typically take them, if they had an indicator, they would typically take them about 24 hours just to even identify where the exfiltration was happening. Today, within about 7 hours, they can quickly identify and start taking action. Or another example of some of the large European law enforcement agencies that we've seen, where typically investigations that would take about 4 to 6 months can now be done within weeks. And then if we think about our opportunity to rationalize the workflows and take from hundreds of steps of business process flows and automate it into a few single-digit steps, that is the horizontal workflows that we are looking at. So as we look to where we are heading, you might wonder, that's all great. What's the wow factor? Well, for us, the wow factor is very much in the investment in the deep learning framework, because it's actually, that's what's allowing us to continue the innovation in our semantic capabilities, being able to introduce to you AI chat, being able to bring in summarization, being able to see timeline of events in chronology, and many more other exciting elements along with the broader tech ecosystem that is coming to bear. So now it's actually about embedding these innovations into your workflow and being able to operationalize them into a seamless, usable mechanism because of our platform and the integrated capabilities. So what I'd say is you've got choice. You've got the opportunity to look at how you can bring about the focus of this conference very much in terms of having agility, having the opportunity to invest with AI that you can either use that we provide or your own if you've been building out specific models. So as we come to the end of my section, and just before we go out for, I'm sure, some amazing lunch, and it's beautiful weather outside, I would leave this for you to consider. If you're a service provider, you can think of spinning up new lines of business, because not only do you have the capability to take what we have, but also create your own IP and create new offering for your customers. If you are in the investigative space, or if you are thinking about a law enforcement scenario, you have the opportunity to run investigations at scale and speed that you've potentially not had previously. And if you're corporates who are dealing with all types of data sets, particularly also in investigations, chat data set or cloud data sources, with the plethora of explosion of data sets, you've got the opportunity to find a mechanism in the Nuix platform where we are able to bring it in, plug the gaps that some of the other providers are not able to provide, and then have this holistic, integrated view. So in finishing, and I'm just like seconds over, I would say, let's not just adapt to the future, let's find a way to design it together with the agility of heart and mind that AI enables for us. Thank you.